You're listening to Through Help and Back. Through Help and Back is a podcast focused on mental health, addiction, treatment, recovery, and all things related to personal improvement and wellness. Don't worry, we're not here to talk about problems without solutions, and we're definitely not here to talk about struggles without success. So come with your problems, leave with our solutions. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Through Help and Back. Very happy that you're here today on this very hot, if you're in the South, summer day. Very stormy and rainy if you're in New England like me, summer day as well. I guess global warming and climate change is doing its thing, and we're dealing with extremes all over the map. We're very, very lucky today. We've got producer Ian back after a brief hiatus. Ian, welcome back in the driver's seat. So good to have you, man. How you been?
Thank you. I'm feeling great. Yeah, it's good to be back. Good to be back. Had a rough start today, but you know, it's I love challenge.
We worked it out. Yeah. You guys can't see Ian, but he's been busy working on his guns, not his production skills. He's coming in here like just jacked, but he's messing with all the sound levels and stuff. So we had to work through that. But always happy to have Ian back. Leo does a great job. Ian does a good job. And then also very fortunate today for you guys watching, because I'm very excited for our guest. One of the topics that we haven't covered yet, on Through Help and Back, we try to present you with a lot of different opportunities to learn, a lot of different ways to heal, a lot of different ways to connect to the healing process. And one that is really well known that people know a little bit about, and it's familiar to them, but we haven't touched on this show, is hypnosis and trance work and hypnotherapy. So we're very fortunate today to have Rose Klein with us. She's known as Rose the Hypnotist, coming to us from Texas. So very excited to learn what she's been up to and to educate us a little bit more about that process. So Rose, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's been a great pleasure to be with such great company.
Yeah, mutual. And you were the one I was referencing with that heat down in Texas. Like, how are you doing down there? Is everybody staying safe and coping and dealing with that?
At least I'll tell you this time around that the air conditioning is still on. The air conditioning is still on, meaning when we had the deep freeze a few years ago, it was pure HELL because it was cold. And then when Harvey hit, or was it Ike, then that was another bad situation too. But having air conditioning and having electricity, that's a good thing.
Yes, it is. My Texas story. So I'm a TCU grad. I spent a lot of time in Texas. So I have a heart for Texas, but I moved from Ohio to Texas, and I was driving an old beat up SUV with no air conditioning. And I took off to college, and I thought I'd be just fine. And I was greeted in my summer semester with like 31 straight days in triple digits or something like that. And so I got my rough welcome to Texas real quick. Yeah. We got that AC fixed as quick as we could. So
let me get straight onto a metaphorical story that explains about what happened when your mind is triggered. Okay, triggered meaning when it fights, it thinks it's like Mike Tyson's going to beat the shoo out of you, because I'm trying not to curse.
That's okay. I know you can curse.
You can curse, okay. It flees. It's like it wants to just escape. It freezes, and then it fawns, meaning it overpleases the situation, okay? I know this is all really weird technical words, but I hope this will explain it. Okay, so I've been married to my husband for about 22 years. And then I always pause because there's a funny story about that. So that we have a lot of things old, and things are breaking apart. And like my shoes I have for 20 years are breaking apart. So we had to get new things. And then, so we're renovating the guest bathroom. So there's a lot of junk already. And then, so I get a bright idea. Use Southeast Hypnosis dumpster. Okay. And then I go, okay, but only a little bit, honey, because then we don't want to get in trouble. So we get just a little bit, because he said we 100 pounds of junk, but we have 300 altogether. So the Jeep we got, I used to drive it about 30 years ago. It was all brand new. Now my baby girl isn't working so well. The air conditioning does not work. So it takes 20 minutes to go there. We've been having triple digit. My God, being in his car. Oh, I was pissed off. My mind started being like Mike Tyson. It wanted to beat the shit out of him. I don't know for what reason. I started an argument? I don't remember. But I was angry. I was angry. I was hot. I was bothered. And it's not the other way. Okay. So then 20 minutes, we got there. And then I was looking forward to going to Southeast Hypnosis because the air conditioner would be on. So he said, here's your key, babe. Go for it. So I ran. And then the key he gave me, my mind said it was a literal key to the office. So I turned the key. I said, you little dumbass. You gave me the wrong key. You did not have the key to the office. Oh, I'm just going to beat the shit out of you. I'm thinking I'm Mike Tyson, okay? So then I came right back, running. And I go, you little dumb asshole. I'm sorry, I was
No.
So he goes, you dumb asshole, I told back at him. And I go, I didn't know I was triggered because I was so pissed off.
Right. You're in that moment. That's right.
Then he said, where's my key, you little dumb asshole? I can't get in. I was like crying. He goes, but he flipped over the key and my eyeball flipped over, which is that changing physiology, okay? My eyeballs moved the key, went over. He goes, oh, here's your key. He's like, meaning I felt like a dumbass. And then I realized that, I was triggered, meaning I was hot. And then that's a funny story about what happened to you when you are traumatized.
I wanted to connect to your story for a moment because we were taught this phrase, halt, right? So, if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, and I guess in Texas right now, H can also mean hot. So if you're hot or hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, right, you're going to be in a compromised state and you don't want to be making big decisions. You don't want to be putting yourself in jeopardy with your loved ones, with your partners, because you're not even operating on an advanced brain state. You are back to your caveman ways and you are just off,
It's just that HALT is a 12-step program when I learned that from too. So yeah, I was hungry to get out of the hotness, all right? And then I was angry. And then I was lonely because I thought that I was on a desert island because I was going to die of this damn heat. Yeah. And then so that, when your mind freezes, so then at that moment, you see, I lost all perspective. And then when I was telling you that my eyeballs switched and saw the key and I go, holy shit. I go, and then my eyeballs go look, and then you change the physiology to change your mood, which is as easy as like you're going to roll your eyeballs upward. So in the part of the story I want to emphasize to people is that how did I get out of it so quickly? It's just because I was hot, and then I think my husband is hot, and then so when he changes the key over, then my eyeball moved. That was changing physiology. Change your physiology to change your mood. Exercise, dances, and music. There is some cool techniques you can do, but then if your mind freezes, it's in shock. It's truly in shock.
And Mike Tyson's coming to get you, so you're stuck. What? Yeah. I love the part of your conversation too. Like that is such a 22 years married conversation with one another, right? Like it's so funny. You go to a therapist or you read a book and they're like, well, in times of stress, you need to, approach each other with a calm voice. You need to be supportive. You need to offer safety. You're like, yeah, right, dude. I'm hot. Like you dumbass, you gave me the wrong key.
No, hell no. I'll tell you the story just like I am a marriage therapist. I got trained in U of H here over in Clear Lake, and I do have my master's degrees in marriage and family counseling. I really do. That was what I started out with. But then that's hogwash. I will tell you is that Michelle Obama says she had 10 bad years with President Barack Obama. And then she learned how to compromise. When I said, oh my gosh, I got you, babe. It's because we got to learn how to compromise. And when you're angry, you just got to be angry. You can't, why hide it?
Well, you can't fight being human. We're going to feel things, right? And we're going to react to those feelings. Now, you can put techniques in place and you can do coping skills and you can practice to react better, right? Like maybe you go from being angry for a week to being angry for a day, right? Like you can make progress, but you have to acknowledge we're going to have those feelings.
You got to acknowledge the feeling, and it's just like Virginia Satir mentioned in her book, The New People Making. You got to label to identify what's wrong. If one doesn't know what's wrong, one can't correct what's wrong. So, which means when you're angry, I'll tell you, I wouldn't want somebody to be angry for a week or even for a day, because, you know, research has proven anger causes cancer, and then it gets your body and your mind stuck on everything negative that's going to happen in your life. So then there is an NLP premise, is that what is expected is then realized. If you expect bad things to happen, then it will be realized.
That's right.
It's about keeping a positive, cool, relaxing state of mind when there is many fires you got to burn off. And expecting a positive result, a positive outcome, having the attitude and go through the storm of your life. So which means if you keep having a negative attitude, think of like Groundhog's Day. We all have patterns we do to protect ourselves. Like Groundhog's Day in relationship and making money and in jobs, etc. We have strategies you do. And then if you know that we all do this, then you can actually revert it and do 360 and about face. Because there's hope, and there's always hope for change, which means going back to Barack Obama, he actually used hypnosis and NLP, in which I blend the two, where that's how he won the race. So when he says something about freedom and hope, he always then go to his hand signal, always go back to him. And then he did that. So then instead, change your physiology, do something different, get your eyeballs up. I mean, I could teach the people out there how to do rapid eye movement by it's doing a lot of things that you have to do consciously, labeling that you are in fight, freeze, or fawn. Get out of survival mode, because you're going to lose perspective. And your mind's only going to focus on barely surviving, barely making it.
You know what I remember the most about Obama and during that run and during that time was that speech that he gave, I believe it was in Chicago. It was the Yes, We Can speech, right? Where he kind of got people going. And he started, and it felt very kind of like very forced, right? He said a phrase and he goes, yes, we can. And he did the hand movements, and he did another one. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And he had that entire crowd in a trance state, because if you notice by the end of his speech, as he was naturally coming to the end of his sentence, they were offering the yes, we can, without him even having to prompt them. You know what I mean? And so it was so interesting how he had them going almost like trance state. We're like, yes, we can, yes, we can, yes, we can, with all the focus on him. So I don't know if you remember that, but that just blew me away when he could do that.
I remember if you're going to go back and analyze the videotape. Alrighty. In public speaking, do you have an attitude where you're going to have it, and then the attitude and the confidence that you arrive, that you're going to have it, you're Superman, you got it, and, you can slam dunk that. I mean, the attitude there. Then two, if you're going to look at it, he goes, and he anchor a place in one side, things of negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, the future. In the middle, he anchor, I get it done and I'm the man.
Yeah, yeah.
So when he moved, everybody moved their eyes, and then he then got into the act and modeled someone, and then he got everybody into trance, and then that's one of the techniques you could do in public speaking, anchoring a spot. Like, for instance, some will then want, when they're on stage, they'll say, well, I want a trash can right here. So then when you want to anchor, throw things like bad self-talk, then you're going to go through and move your hand, gesture to the trash.
Reference it. Yeah.
And then in the reference to it that way, and then you move on the stage in the future, then you move it to that part.
And you're the bridge. I'm the bridge. Yeah, it goes through me. Rose, how did you first become interested in this? Because I mean, I know that you're LPC, right? So you're a licensed professional counselor. Is that correct? And so I know some of the training. We shared that. And so I didn't get a lot of hypnosis work. I didn't get a lot of trance work in my master's programs and my graduate programs. So how did this interest first develop for you?
It came with getting my CEU, and then this was Julie, and Julie is what I call a double decker. She has an LPC and an LMFT, and then she was doing the CEUs and then I was going to get a 24 or whatever, God forbid, and then 3 hours or 6 hours of ethics. It was like, my God, a steal. I could get half my credits done. And then, but then again, in the back of my mind, I wanted to know more about hypnosis. I was really curious about it. So then fast forward, I got into a mentorship with Scott McFall at the Master Hypnosis Society. And then, at first I was resentful of the learning because I should have gotten this at my expensive master degree. And I felt jilted by our peers. I mean, our colleagues of psychiatry, to say it that way, because they didn't teach us any of this stuff.
Right.
They taught us how to analyze and diagnose. I was frustrated. I spent a good couple of years being angry at my colleague. I almost wanted to throw my license away. Scott go, oh, take a break on it. Whoa, doggy. I said, oh, you will need that in the future for speaking and stuff. So no. Don't be so impulsive. And I'm glad he talked me out of it because I was just ready to let it go. And because all the learning I learned about the state of mind and the mindset, I want to use words that people can understand more.
Sure.
It's the mindset, how it's manifested. Baby, you got to have to want that, what you want to have it, and the attitudes that you're going to get it and have it. But you got to train your mind. You got to train your mind to see the end result of a positive goal or the closure of that goal. Your mind can be trained. And when you have that ability to remain calm and to get what you want, and then it's cool beans. It's really cool beans. I don't know if I can answer that question all the way.
No, you nailed it. And I felt some of those same feelings, especially when I left my master's program. I felt like, well, I'm now a cog in this kind of medical model machine, and I'm here to produce diagnoses, and I'm here to get people into higher level of care or the appropriate level of care. But I often ask myself this question, like, am I really helping? Like, what am I doing that's really making a difference for this next person? So I think I can connect with you. I felt some of those same things for sure. I really did.
In the back of my mind, I thought, it's just like, am I really helping you or am I creating a problem? And the difference is, I'll tell you, from those who are in the licensed track people and the hypnotists, is that we work on solution and only solution. And then, you know how you play the telephone game, and then you play the game, and there's like 20 of you guys, and then the whole message changed at the end because you heard it wrong. The more you talk about the problem, the more you're going to have the problem.
That's right. That's right.
So if you keep talking about the problem, the mind will see the problem, and then it will feel, and it doesn't want to do anything about the problem because then it just get caged into the problem. So then as the field of psychiatry, what did they do? What do we do? What I used to do is that it's just keep talking about the problem.
I mean, every session, right? Like, what's wrong? Every session, like, what have you been struggling with? That when you go to like the assessments, right? So you've done a million assessments, I'm sure. What's the first segment on the assessment is presenting problem, right? Right off the bat.
Presenting problem.
That's right. That's right. We're already put in that mindset to look for problems right off the bat.
But then now I want people to just flip the switch. Then there's we call it a distraction technique. So then I like your bald head. My mentor Scott McFall is bald.
Yeah, I'm adjusting to my bald head. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
And then, so that's like a distraction technique. So which means then you can distract your mind away from the bad habit and focused on delaying it and then moving it away. And then because your mind likes to then distort, delete, manufacture some stuff. So then why don't you go ahead and learn how to then do that in a positive way, where let's say you bite your nails, stop, do something different for a little bit. And then the more you do it, the more you expect that result, the more that it's just so cool. It's so superpower cool to control your mind when it's going negative. And you switch the light, you turn it on, and you go, oh, okay, this is what I need to do in order to get what I want. So then what would happen if everybody then focused on what you want instead of what you're trying to get rid of?
Has learning this made a big difference for you personally? Like, have things changed for you, and are you better able to deal with things having learned this and knowing this now? Like, what impact has hypnosis and this knowledge made for you?
Yeah, learning hypnosis is it's like magic. And during around my birthday, within the month of July, is where I always celebrate my change. So it's just like the first fireworks without having a full-blown panic attack because of PTSD of leaving Vietnam as a baby, 4 or 5-year-old. I remember how bad was it. I remember doing DePelchin Children's Center, and we were doing home base, and we'll meet in the office at DePelchin. And this is maybe more like maybe 30 years ago. And then I would just think about it. You could tell I'm going to have a panic attack. It's just like a balloon will pop. I just felt like a dumbass because I'm scared to death of a balloon. And then when I realized it's the sound of the canyon is maybe the reason why. But counseling has never got rid of that for me. It never did. So hypnosis and NLP, then what we do is that then the nervous system, we get rid of the survival stuff, and then we go focused here and go, stay calm, relax. And then to enjoy my first fireworks without being triggered was really cool. And then for about, 2 years that we didn't have fireworks? So this 4th of July, we were able to do the fireworks. I did kind of startle a little, but I didn't go to the freak out zone. Yeah. It was really beautiful. It was like cotton candy. And I always celebrate that with fireworks. But then again, the most important change I would list is that my childhood trauma, because both my parents were, think of it this way, guys. I'm going to paint a picture. It was Vietnam. Both my parents are gone, but then they went through, Vietnam has been invaded by 3 or 4 countries. And the Japan one time did. So my dad will have some PTSD. So would my mom. They both, when they left Vietnam, they just were like the dog chasing its tail. They just didn't know anything really. And I had to really learn and grow by myself. So then to get rid of the childhood trauma and then to be safe and not having that triggered me the way it did was really what the most amazing gift that hypnosis and my team, which Scott McFall and the Master Hypnosis Society has got me to this place where calmness is indeed a superpower. And then recently, then I stopped biting my nails, and then I stopped having snacks and dessert, and for the last 2 weeks. So I'm constantly like, I am like a hypnosis NLP groupie, meaning this is what I live, breathe, eat, read, sometimes dream about. This is really one of my obsessive desire. It's been amazing. It's just been totally and utterly amazing.
Well, it changed your life in so many different ways.
Yeah. And then again, my relationship with my husband too.
It's improved that.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So first of all, one thing I want to note is just how beautiful it is that you're celebrating your change with fireworks, which is the thing that used to trigger you. I just think it's so wonderful that like you've taken the power back from that, right? Like the very thing that used to trigger you or traumatize you is now something that's used in a celebratory fashion. I just love it. I love that you own that now. It's yours. It used to trigger you. Now it's yours. I think that's amazing. When somebody gets started, right? So you've gone through a lot of the hypnosis and NLP being neuro-linguistic programming. When somebody gets started, right? Because we hear these changes like, hey, I'm eating better. I'm not biting my nails. I'm not, my PTSD, I'm dealing with the symptoms of that. Oh, by the way, my relationship with my husband is stronger. Like people are going to hear that and they're going to those are the things that people want. Those are the areas that they want improvements in their life. What does it look like when they first start out? Like, what are they signing up for if they decide to go this route and seek hypnosis and NLP? What should they prepare for?
What they prepare for is that everyone come in for a free hypnotic screening. And then that is to determine if hypnosis can be right for them in the situation. So in the screening, it says that I want to backtrack and go, it's just like when we don't want to change and we get resistant, then Virginia Satir mentioned in her book, The New People Making, there's like 4 communication stance that we do. Really, as a secondary benefit is to protect your self-esteem, your self-worth, to feel like you arrived, that you're a person deserving of that success. So then I'm going to then just act it out really quickly. Okay. So one of the first way that people do is that you cross your hand, we look up in the air, and then we become a super snotty, arrogant supercomputer, and we compute, and then we say, and then we start. One will start analyzing themselves. One will analyze this, and they become really super logical, and they're expecting everything to be perfect. So then they compute, and then after that, they go, it's all your fault, and then they blame, and they get aggressive, and they can become like Mike Tyson, you know? And then when they feel bad about themselves, oh, I'll do anything for you, they placate. Placate people are people pleasers that their heart is always on their sleeve. And then, then these is one who distract, meaning I don't have a problem. I'll move the problem away. I will drink, eat, smoke, and then have a bad habits because I can't face the problem. So then what the screening does really is that the hypnotist, which is me or someone who's been trained in the master society system of change, will then teach you the 4 stance, and then exhale. Level is just basically change is change. Michael J. Fox quoted that accepting is not resigning. Accepting is facing what it is and finding another way around it. So when you find another way around it, it's only when your mind can remain level-headed and accept you got a problem. And if this all makes sense, it says that we need to ask, then are you willing to surrender into doing what you want to do? And here's the training that it's like a pot of gold. We'll offer you $1 million worth to be a millionaire and to have the superpower to remain calm. Do you want it? Can I teach you the right way, the way to change, because your work, the way you do it, hasn't been working so far? Can I teach you a different strategy for your change? Because then you cannot focus on the problem, but instead on what you want and the solution, and do what you see. You paint that picture. It's a bright, sparkly picture. And then hear the sound of change, and then feel less.
Before we go on, I want to say a few words about Anew Behavioral Health. Anew Behavioral Health is an outpatient provider of mental health and substance abuse services in Ohio and New Hampshire. That means that Anew can successfully treat mental health and substance abuse issues or dual diagnosis if you're struggling with both. Their integrated approach allows for them to successfully address issues related to anxiety, depression, addiction, trauma, and really anything that stands between your life and the life you could be living. You really cannot bring them an issue that they have not successfully treated. They have also solved one of the biggest problems for people seeking help. They have a dedicated team waiting to hear from you at helpnow@anewbh.com. If you contact them today, within 24 hours, you will have heard back from, wait for this, a real live person, and will also have your first appointment scheduled at that time. So how do you contact them? Well, if you're in Ohio or New Hampshire, you're probably close to one of their local locations. You're welcome to go in. If not, you can always reach them online at anewbh.com. And if you're interested in services for you or a loved one, use that address, helpnow@anewbh.com. One of the things that's out there and kind of like pop psych is this concept of manifestation. And so when I hear you say a picture of the change that you want, the bright, sparkly picture, visualizing what you want, not getting caught in your defense mechanisms, not getting caught in all those old patterns, is this a form of manifestation? Is this connected to manifestation in any way, or is this a totally different process?
They use manifestation, it's just like, it's one of those little pop psych. And then You cannot manifest what you want if you're wondering, one, how did I do it? Did I do it? Can I do it? And then what will go wrong if I don't do it? Okay, so let me repeat again. If you can't manifest what you want, if you're still focused on, I should do it if it's all based on willpower. You're making a decision still on the negative end of the stick. Manifestation, to manifest what you want, is to help. Basically, what would happen if one would then, the audience out there, then take care of your mind, feed it what it sees, eat right, drink cool, refreshing water, walk, read books about your dreams, what you want, be obsessive about getting it and wanting it, and then do something when it goes to, I can't do it. Because when you debate, you're not manifesting anything. You're just really manifesting a negative result.
And there's such a fine line, right? It's because they're so closely related. Because everybody can say, like, I want money, right? Or I want my relationship to improve. But there's actually implied in that wish, I don't have money, my relationships are bad, right? Because they're two sides of the same coin. So it's really, really like a fine line. It's not just as easy, at least as I understand it, as to verbalize your wants. You're talking about a totally different level of almost acting as with expectancy, like this is what my life is going to have.
Yeah, it's sort of like they call it emulating learning, and then I want them to think, and let's think about the money part. People who have lots of money, they don't think about not having it. They just think about ways to improve society, way to improve the client, way to improve what. They have a strong faith and belief in their skills and what they value, that they're going to have it, babe. And when you're going to have it and basically demand to have it, you're going to have it. And then you want it, you believe, your motivation, all of that comes into play. And if you want it and believe that 1,000%, a lot of people don't have faith and belief in their own ability because they don't come with the attitude, I expect to have it. Case in point. Scott McFall, he's my mentor, and he's bald, just like you. And he's so cute, too, just like you.
Just handsome guys. All these handsome bald guys in your life.
He's a magician, a psychic, and he is unbelievably, like, amazing. All right. So a few years ago, he put this plug in my head. And he said that this is how I'm going to put it. I'm going to be the next female Tony Robbins.
Okay.
I see the stage, and it's going to be a red leather. I can see the seats. It's dark. I'm in the middle of the stage, and then I'm doing my thing. Okay, I can hear them cheering, and then so for the next few months, I practiced NLP. I did reels, all this other stuff. So unbeknownst to me, and it was around August and September of last year. And then I went to Aging Gracefully, which ended up being a tryout for the session talk show host, which I didn't know, an audition. And then now I actually do have a show. And then soon I have my own show, which
Wow.
Clarity with Rose, which is just going to have a little bit more of a psych mental health spin. So which means then it's a sort of like, then I met with my team, which is the Master Assist Society, in April, I believe April was sometime this year, a couple months ago. And then I said, oh, remember that, Scott, that story? I said, yeah. And here's my attitude. I expect people to like me, and I expect to have it. He goes, did you know that Tony has the same attitude you do? And I go, and I still get shocked, like, oh my gosh, I have your first, Your first time when you lost your virginity, your first concert, it's still like my first every time. And it brings me still like, I can't believe it. Hypnosis still, and NLP, it just works so well on me. That's why I love it. And I love that feeling. So then I'm hoping that story helped the audience understand. It's the belief that 1,000% you're going to make it, you're going to have it, you're going to have it all. And then Jesus is going to plan. And you go, oh, when things go sideways, I expected. Then you're going to go up to 3 things you're going to ask your unconscious mind to do to help you with your stress, to remain focused on the course. And the 3 things you will may not do, you will go ahead and do that now, and then see the success as you do it again and again and again, and then do it again to make it real, because then you are that person deserving of that success. When you take action, you will make it real.
First of all, I'm getting excited and I can't wait to see your show because it's obviously going to be great. And I can see it for you as you cast that vision for me. It's totally there. But what I'm struck by is the certainty in your speech. You use words like will, you use words like when, you use stuff like going to, right? And so much of the talk in the healing space and the therapeutic space is fostering hope. But in a weird way, it's also kind of fostering reservations because there's a lot of if, then, there's a lot of hopefully you can, there's a lot of, to the best of your ability, not to the best of your expectations, right? And so it's almost like traps where people are like setting up little places where they're going to fail down the road. I worked in addictions for a long time and they call that reservations, right? Like, oh, they want to stay clean. Like, I want it. But the expectation that they're going to stay clean always comes with caveats. I want it. I'm going to stay clean. And and if my parents stay off my back and they don't stress me out, I bet I stay clean. Okay, well, you've put a reservation out there in the universe that when your parents stress you out, you're going to go use, right? So you're setting up your own failure. And I'm just struck by the certainty in your speech. I think that that's amazing. And I can see how that would foster that expectation of success.
It's just like you have to have that part is that it's like emulating learning or modeling. So I'm really truly modeling Scott and then and Tony. I have to be careful because I can be very aggressive when I get too carried away like a guy can. So
it's masculine energy. That's good.
But let's go back to that example about how when they relapse, a particular person will blame the parent. So when you're blaming, you're getting angry and you get too aggressive. You're not accepting anything. And then you got to step back and go, okay, you just done it. It's impossible to do anything right when you're blaming and you're getting angry. So then I want them to then do, hey, now, slow down. Then I need to then, HALT is always a good acronym in order to say, are you hungry? Then I need you to eat and feed and drink cool, refreshing water. Feed and nourish your body the right way. Only you know exactly what it is. If you're angry, then you need to have more, 1, exercise, 2, connection with people. And then you can't just Zoom them. You got to have connection where there's a give and take. And then, are you having fun and adventure in your life? Is there something meaningful you can connect to? Are you planning out and realistically planning out? So I said that what stresses you out, and baby, what are you going to do to change and then to keep your self-worth? So that this is what I want to give out to those people who are struggling with alcohol addiction. You got to get your ego out of it, okay? For 1, change is change. Do you desire sobriety in such a degree that then you can firewalk through that change? Then are you being realistic enough to delay the gratification and then get a plan because you screwed up your brain chemistry and then there's holes in your brain and you got to just slow down and then repair and then focus on what you want, and then do it again and again and again. Do you really want what you want? Are you going to have it? Are you then going to willing to do what it takes and stop the blame game?
Have you heard Jocko talk about this concept of extreme ownership, where in the military they learned that no matter what happens with the platoon, it's the leader's fault, right? So the leader, no matter what goes down, so the gunner doesn't do his job, or the scout doesn't do his job, or the planning's off. As the leader, when he gets that information, he needs to embrace that and go, okay, that's my fault. Not your fault, my fault. And I think what's amazing about that is it takes you out of that blame game and that emotional state really quick. And it gets you into a place of power, because if it's my fault, okay, that kind of hurts to hear, but it also puts me in a position of power where I'm the one who can fix it. I can do something about this, right? And so it's empowering in an interesting way. It sounds like you're talking about a level of extreme ownership for your feelings, your outcomes, your behaviors, your habits. Forget this blame game, forget mom and dad, own all of it across the board. It's mine, right? And I'm going to push past that.
Only you know what you need, and you're allowed to keep your positive attitude about you, and then let people have theirs. So that if you look on what you want, are you being realistic about the firewalk? Because if you're just going to think it's all going to be hokey pokey and dancing and turn yourself around, everything's going to be magical and good, and bad shit ain't going to happen, well, I'll tell you, you're out yourself to fail. And then you got to just go, as I said, okay, what would happen if you have this expectancy that you're going to have it, and step into one modeling successful, driven people. So it's just sort of like, is it Bill Walsh that said this, the coach of the 49ers? The more ambitious your goals are going to be, the more failures you're going to have.
The gold is always on the other side of a dragon, right? And all the stories, and that's there for a reason. And the bigger the gold, the bigger the dragon, right? So if you're going to have these big, ambitious goals, that means you're going to have some big, ambitious obstacles as well. And you better prepare for that. I do have a question with your personal experience. So you had mentioned that, dealing with PTSD and childhood trauma, right? So in traditional healing methods, we're kind of taught that if you have trauma, you've got to be on the couch for year after year to address that, get to the core issue, reprocess your trauma, and deal with all that. Was that your experience? Because you said you had dealt with trauma yourself, but here you on the other side talking about NLP and hypnosis. What was your experience with that, and how trauma fit with the hypnotherapy work?
Here's the cool thing about it is that when Scott did letting go and forgiveness, the technique, he didn't really know anything about the story. The content doesn't matter. The content with an N does not matter. It's a context, meaning to change the mood, to shift the mood. Okay, so then your behaviors are not you. People can change, and people have the resources to change. Okay, your behaviors is not you. You can change. You have the resources to change. Your behavior, meaning, how when you blame and you get angry and you go to maybe other bad habits, you eat, drink, and smoke too much, whatever stuff it is, you fill in the blank. That behavior is not you. That's a coping mechanism where you then, it's really to survive. It's the survival of the fittest. It could be trauma related. So then when Scott did that, it was just really magical, because it's like the sack of potatoes was just really gone. He did a 6-step reframe. Gosh forbid, I'm not sure exactly all the stuff he's done. But I just knew that it was finally, it was gone.
You could let it go.
And it was a lot of NLP and trance work, which is focusing really basically on him and his bald head, really pretty much. And then it was just, it just moved. It just moved away. And I don't overeat. I don't have nightmares about it. I don't I don't have, I would get sad out of nowhere and wish to die and have a suicide plan. Really, really. I would get nervous out of nowhere. I was a very sickly child. My body can recreate an illness that will kill me. It is that bad. Yeah. And all because of this trauma from childhood.
And you carried it with you, and it threatened your life as an adult.
It threatened my life as an adult. And so said, okay, how did it threaten my life? In third grade, I had a cyst the size of a football player that nearly killed me. And they put me on a coma, or I went to a coma. I don't know which came first. And then at 15, I had a bad pancreas. And then that my liver was bad, as if I was alcoholic. But at 15, I just started drinking, and I wasn't that bad. No, no. And then again, being pregnant with Trinity, I had hepatitis B, which I got rid of because of hypnosis. And then I had a precancerous palate. It was bittersweet being pregnant with Trini. That's my daughter. And then all of that was because, you know how I was telling about the anger and the resentment and the comparison, fear of abandonment, fear and fatigue. It just stuck in between here and up around my stomach and my female part. That's where I have a lot. That's where it just stays. It just stays there in my body. And I will tell you that I nearly died several times. So that's why chronic existence is just like, how in the hell did I make it through? I should be gone. Goner.
So I kind of want to ask that. You know, you're making great sense. And that, it also explains why early in our conversation you said anger can give you cancer, right? Because it manifests itself in the body. But I want you to answer that question. You said, how the hell did I make it through? Because you didn't have hypnosis and NLP back then as a 15-year-old. And so how did you survive until you found this?
How did I survive? Fear. Because I have a strong faith in God. Fear. If the reason why I'm still alive and not commit suicide was just like, I would imagine, okay, if I die and I commit suicide in my own hands, you know, driving and just, you know, get into an accident, but the hell, that was what I wanted to do because I was chicken shit. I wasn't going to put my gun or anything that I was doing. Thank God I had a lot of fear in me. Okay. So
Sure.
then, but then when I thought about it and I go, if I did it, what would God say? Would still God believe in me? Would he still love me? Because he said that you go to hell. And then that belief kept me going forward. And it wasn't until in my 40s, I found Scott McFall and the Master of Society got retrained. And from clinical work to being hypnosis, I had to be retrained. And I knew something was wrong with me. And I didn't know what it was, but I was willing to go through that fire walk. But I knew that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and I knew there was a better tomorrow. And I'll tell you, it was painful as hell in the beginning because I just, like a stubborn child, I didn't want to let go of my Cocoa Puffs. You can't let me go of my Cocoa Puffs.
Even if it was hurting you.
And I was so confused, you know. And when the certain moments, I just became so childish and hypersexual too. And they were worried about me and I zoned out. I had no idea what I was doing. And sometimes, darling, when you're out there, you don't know what you're doing. You really know what you're doing because you really did totally zone out. You just came because it was promised so much. You just click, 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 and your body start doing things automatically because it's programmed to do that. So be kind and patient with your mistake.
A couple of thoughts. First is I like how you reframe things. You talk about calm is a superpower, which I agree. It's very difficult. And then you talk about fear saved you, right? Like fear was a good thing for you for a while because it kept you alive, you know? And it's always interesting, this concept too, when people who are in a lot of pain, they say, well, if I die, I'll go to hell. And I always wonder, like, who's to say that that's a place? Because it sounds like you were in a little bit of hell right here for a while.
Oh my God, exactly. Hell was here being on Middle Earth. It was as that I was in a piece of hell. But then it was that faith and my belief in God. And then in my upbringing that got me together. And then pull myself together. It was because it's just like I was just so confused sometimes. It's just like out of nowhere, pop goes the weasel. I mean, I'm married, my husband loves me, we have a good life. He has a good income. I still feel flat broke, and I get sad out of nowhere and drive into an 18-wheeler and die. And I was thinking, where in the world did this come from? And because the thought was that it was not me. And then, but I needed a way out. And unconsciously, that's how I came to do some counseling. And it was just, first it was getting my dad's approval and his love. And because he wanted me to get a higher education. And I did. And then, but then it was to find out what's the elephant in the room, you know, what's really was to face the ugliness in the mirror of what you've been through and your strategy. And I'll tell you, it was painful, but was it worth it? Yeah. It was worth it. It was totally worth it. Because then people are worth it. You guys are worth it. Your dreams are worth it. You being alive, living life with vigor. Really, it's just like all my darlings out there. Stop being a dumbass. I mean, just go and say, be the best version of you, because that's how you were created.
There's that phrase that you know, who's the richest person in the world? And the answer is whoever has enough. Right. And it sounds like your early story, you never felt like enough. And so you could have a good income, you could have a good life, and it won't feel like enough because you didn't feel like you were enough. And it just feels today, as you talk about yourself, that now your authentic self is enough. You feel like you're enough, and you're enjoying who you are and accepting who you are, and you're enough now. So you're rich. It's amazing.
And then, of course, the cash flow will come, because then going back to that point. So it's always been about the attitude, what you value about yourself. And then, you know, Dolly Parton said that she looks like a drag queen because she needs the confidence then to have a concert of millions of people and to perform, and then to make sure that they're happy with what she's going to give them in that concert, because she has to pay that back. It's like you walk in the room, you're going to go, if I would tell people who are very young, it's just like you're supposed to make mistakes, but the mistakes do not define you. It helps you learn to then do it differently, and then look for the mistake, get back up, and then do it again and again and again and again. And then have paralyzing patience to make your dream come true. And then another dream and another dream.
Because you've got the skill. So now you can employ it against anything you want. So with the time we have left, and we're not super short on time, but obviously amazing results, obviously huge progress for you. I do want to get into kind of the nitty gritty a little bit, because, you know, in movies and TVs, we have this idea of what hypnosis is, right? And I'm imagining the watch and you're getting very sleepy and things like that. So can you kind of pull back the curtain and, like, how does one do hypnosis? What do you do when you're working with a client and getting started? You know, is it as it's portrayed in the movies, or are there different techniques that you use?
With the clock, you can actually get the clock and then get them, because then what's happening is that your eyeballs and your mind focus on that clock. So whether so hypnosis is about focus. This is then to focus on either sound of your voice, focusing on counting back, and basically to focus on one idea. So hypnosis is about monoidealism, which is having one thought, if I pronounce that word right, having one thought. The next is about relaxation. When you have one thought, relax. Get rid of, am I doing it right? Or is this the right way to do the hypnosis? Then you just clicked out of it. You just snapped out of it. And then relax, and then come back to focused on your voice, focus on my finger, going back and forth like that. And then to focus on that one idea, one object, just like that. Relax as you focus, and then do that repetitiously, counting back, and then just relax. That's it. Just relax and focus, and then take that deep breath, and then exhale and focus, and then relax, and then do it well enough. And then when you about ready, the moment before you fall asleep, then your suggestions will be every day in every way, you're getting better and better and better. Make your suggestions very general, because if you make it too specific, your mind will debate the specific of it.
I mean, Ian just fell asleep, but yeah, other than that, yeah, you're making great. No, I think that makes a lot of sense because our minds are very noisy and busy. You know what I mean? And when you talk about that, I won't be able to say it either, but the one thought idea, and whether it be the watch or the fingers or the, I notice you like to click a lot, to draw attention, whether it may be to just to shut that noise out and actually be able to have one singular thought without judgment. Right. I would think it would open up your mind to a lot of different possibilities.
It's a really cool place, people. You could also listen, if you're what we call auditory, meaning you hear ring-a-ding. I'm auditory. So if you hear me talk, I like to hear myself talk. I like to hear ring. I like to hear music. And then as I talk, you hear, I will say words more like for talking, speaking. So if you're auditory, then auditory digital is basically having negative self-talk. Okay. So what you can do to drown that out is that don't put music that sings because you'll sing along. That's not hypnosis. You then put some elevator music on, put some sound wave music on, classical music, very instrumental, slow beat music where you listen to that instead, and it kind of drowned out all that negative self-talk. That's what I still do today to sleep better. I do his self-hypnosis to sleep at night. And then in the morning, I do my morning audio book. And as I walk around, because then I'm training my mind to focus on the noise outside of me, the map outside, not inside. So the map inside your head makes up stuff. It's like a Freddy Krueger nightmare that distorts the fact. It's not fact. It's friction. It's making up stuff.
That distortion is so tough. Yeah, that distortion is so tough because sometimes it's not what happens to us or around us. It's the story we tell ourselves about what happens that makes all the damage.
That is
right?
correct. We self-sabotage. Yeah, so in the screening, going back, I get you to more aware and then label it, and then I teach you magical tricks with hypnosis and NLP. And you can come in for a screening, or you can come in to be a hypnotist and get certified. It's all cool.
I'm nervous to come in. You're really good at this. You can tell. I feel like I'd be one of those people on stage who think they're somebody else or cluck like a chicken or something like that. You see those demonstrations of hypnosis and things like that. So, because it's a little bit of surrender, right? Like if you're a control person, I like to drive, right? So if we're all in the car, I'm going to drive. It's just that's that thing. And this is a way I don't get to drive, right? Somebody else is going to drive, and it's a little bit of surrender, a little bit of trust. I would have to think that trusting your hypnotist and rapport between you and the hypnotist would be paramount, because if I don't trust you, right, am I really going to go there? Am I going to really surrender to the process?
And then saying that too, then I want to flip the coin. You said then you can trust your unconscious mind to remain logical, smooth, calm, at the ebb and flow of a gentle wave that flows back and forth. And the water goes back and forth. You can trust your conscious mind to remain logical, to keep you safe and sound, that you can trust, that you can then have the confidence to repair, heal, let go, and fix the problem of your life.
How does the hypnotic process, the NLP, compare to like a guided meditation? Because I'm hearing a lot that I feel like it has in common, but I have to feel like there's key differences as well. So, because if somebody's like into guided meditation, the same thing with the sounds and the tones and trying to get to a singular thought, non-judgment. But I know that there's different pieces to the hypnosis and the NLP. So how are they similar and how are they different?
Similar in terms of they both get your mind to focus on one idea and then to get into the alpha or the light hypnosis zone. Okay. And then the difference is this: hypnosis, then there's deepening skills, meaning we get you deeper and more relaxed. And then because you see, when it comes to do the hypnosis zone, you tattle sleep. And it's like very like, you cross the line. You're gonna cross the line between light sleep and then snoring. Because when you go into that sacred zone, it's when you get used to feeling nothing, thinking nothing, and then having the stillness of the night inside your head and your body, then it's like you have to trust yourself. So then it's more of the deepening skills. And after that, when you're in that zone, because like in the athletic zone, you're going to be in that zone, your unconscious mind will then believe your suggestions. And we teach you these suggestions.
With guided meditation, you may get in the zone, but not have the suggestions, the planting, the guidance there to create the change past that. You just get to that calm place. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, more of the light hypnosis. But then there's still a lot of debate going back and forth. Because if there's that debate, you got to go deeper down, do more called deepening skills. And then after that, then when you're in that zone, then you do suggestions. So suggestion, this is what we refer to, the name I'm going to say is manifesting the dream that you're going to have. Saying it, describing it, so your mind will accept it. It will accept it only in the zone.
Like your red chairs and your crowd and the audience, and that was part of your details of that dream. With the hypnosis, sometimes we talk about suggestibility and we talk about people who are more easily suggestive or suggestible and people who aren't. I wonder if there's people who are resistant or through trauma or whatever that like just fight this and just can't do it. So, I mean, are there people who just this won't work for?
Everybody can be hypnotized, with the exception of 3 people that cannot be hypnotized. Everybody can be hypnotized. The first one is that those who are drunk. You see, if you're drunk, you can't focus long enough to pay attention to what the hypnosis and the teaching it will do, right? And then 2, if you have an IQ of less than 70, or people refer to as stupid. Right. So then if you can follow directions and know how to get to a place, then you're A-okay. The third one is where upsets the hypnotist the most. Is that you can't make me. Basically having a bad attitude that nothing will work. With that exception of 3 people, everybody can be hypnotized,
But I'll tell you, across the spectrum, no matter what type of therapy you're doing, whether it be hypnotherapy or just traditional therapies or whatever, I think if you come in with this attitude of this is not going to work no matter what, you'll probably prove yourself right? I mean, there has to be openness to change in any process.
Yeah, then what is expected is realized. So then you got to be open to change. Change is change.
We're close on time, but I want to create a little bit of space here at the end for you. Is there anything about this field, is there anything about this practice that you really want to make sure people learn from this so that they know before we part? I mean, I'm asking questions from a novice point of view. Is there anything I missed or anything that like, hey, if somebody out there is struggling with A, B, or C, or just something you think is really important for them to know about this process?
It's an all-natural approach where we teach you to have mind control your mood when you win or lose. It's a journey, not a race. So then we teach you the superpower of calmness in your mind, where you can truly manifest the vision of what you see, what's going to happen. You will hear yourself, congratulate yourself, it will happen. Feel the congratulations when it happened and say it has closure. But the attitude will be, you will have it.
Did you see I mean, I loved it. The change in tone, you locked in on us, like all that just got in. That was like, I felt that. I not only heard that, I felt that, Rose. That was
You
really
felt
good.
that? That is so cool.
I did. I felt it a little bit right there. Yeah. Rose, how do people find you? I want to make sure that people can connect with you if they hear this and they're inspired or they want to learn more. How do they find you?
They can call me at 281-996-8000, 281-996-8000. They can find me at southeasthypnosis.com. And then they can schedule that screening, the free screening, to get rid of a bad habit, to lose weight or stop smoking at southeasthypnosis.setmore.com. And then if you want to be a hypnotist, just click on the career one. And then that's also a free interview also.
Awesome. And are you ready to pitch your show? Do you have information on that, or is that still developing?
That's still developing, but I believe the name is going to be Clarity with Rose. And then when that happens, it will happen. And then it will just shoot up like fireworks. That's
right, because that's your expectation. Yeah, you've already seen it. It's going to happen. That's awesome. And we'll put all those links down below and anything like that. So, and I always make some time at the end, definitely to reach out and let people know too about our sponsors. So this is one that a lot of times when people are sharing, I talk about Anew Behavioral Health in Ohio and New Hampshire. If you're in Texas, please connect with Rose. She's going to point you in the right direction. But most times when I give a little pitch here at the end about our sponsor, I like to say like, well, if you're in these states, you can get it from them. But if you're in Ohio, New Hampshire, you can get it from us. You can get it from Anew Behavioral Health. I will say currently, and this speaks to kind of how the field has developed, I don't believe Anew Behavioral Health in Ohio, New Hampshire has anybody doing hypnotherapy. So it's such an interesting thing, Rose, because I go back to our earlier conversation about we weren't taught this in school. It's not something that people make readily available, and you had to find it through your own personal process. So I imagine there's a shortage of these practitioners. I'm imagining that we need a lot more of these because Anew has a pretty large network with psychiatrists, nurses, therapists, case managers in 2 states, and they don't have a hypnotherapist. So that's something that we're going to have to look at. But they do great work in the traditional therapy, and those issues that Rose was talking about with improving your habits, improving your relationships, dealing with PTSD, dealing with stress and trauma, they can help you with that. So reach out to them at anewbh.com. That's ANEWBH.com. Or if you'd like to connect right away, help now at anewbh.com. So with that, we will wrap up. Producer Ian, thank you so much for coming back in the studio, man. It was great having you. Good to have you here. Intimidating me with your big guns and your muscles that you have now, but that's okay. We're still glad you're here. And Rose, thank you so much for your time. Very enlightening, very exciting. It's inspired me to learn more, and I can't wait to watch your show. I just appreciate you so much, and I'm glad that you were here. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll wrap there, guys. And again, to you, thank you so much. Your time is your most valuable asset. We hope this time has been worth it. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Hey guys, although Through Help and Back is an excellent podcast with a lot of great ideas, I do want to let you know that in no way is Through Help and Back expected to be perceived as or relied upon in any way as specific medical advice or mental health advice for you personally. The information provided through Help and Back on our website or our podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment that can be provided by your own providers. Do not use our content in lieu of professional advice given by qualified medical professionals, and do not disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking professional advice because of the information you have read on our website, heard on our podcast, or otherwise received from us. Although we love discussing issues related to healthcare, mental health, and addiction, we are not providing direct healthcare, mental health care, medical, or nutrition therapy services. We're not attempting to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure in any manner whatsoever any physical or psychological ailment, any mental or emotional issue, disease, or condition. We are not giving you specific medical, psychological, or religious advice whatsoever. Please take care of yourself and take care of others as you always seek the advice of your own medical providers and your own mental health providers regarding any questions or concerns you have about your specific health, or before implementing any recommendations or suggestions from us. These are ideas that have worked for other people. We think it's important to share them. We do not guarantee that they will work for you specifically. Do not stop taking any medications without speaking to your physician. nurse practitioner, physician assistant, mental health provider, or any other healthcare or medical professional. And if you have or suspect that you have a medical or mental health issue, contact your own healthcare provider promptly. Also, one last thing, if you know or suspect that you are currently experiencing a crisis, it is absolutely imperative that you seek the advice of your doctor or other emergency healthcare services prior to ever thinking about using our content. We love the conversations. We're glad you're stopping by. We hope you take a lot from the content. But again, for your specific individual medical situation, please always seek quality personal care from your own providers. Do not let this information or this advice stand on its own. Thanks so much for listening.